Since the first reveal for Destiny in 2013, the hype has been astounding. After all, it is Bungie, the creators of Halo we are talking about, with a $500 million budget to develop and advertise. Back in 2001, Bungie released Halo Combat Evolved that revolutionized the genre of FPS gaming on consoles forever. Halo was a rare game that had both a great story and multiplayer component. They had perfected smooth gameplay while adding a lot of content, and with all this they have become one of the most praised developers of our time. So without a doubt, people have been hyped for Destiny, their first new IP since parting ways with not only Halo, but parting ways with Microsoft. Destiny is a first-person shooter at its core, but also takes cues from an MMO format. If I were to describe the game to explain to you what it is, I'd tell you it's a mix of multiple games. It has an artistic style much like the game that made them popular, Halo, loot collecting like Diablo, and gameplay that is similar to Call of Duty mixed in with more Halo. The question is, how do all these mix? And in my honest opinion, they work great. Playing through the single-player component was a thrill because the gameplay was so fluid, the addiction in finding new loot, and great cooperative gameplay. And that is the thing, this game is built for social aspects. When I play with my friends in co-op, I find the game to be superb. However, when I play by myself, I find the game to be weak or just average. I guess I should explain some of the negativity. Destiny is a game that puts gameplay first, story second. In fact, I'd say the story is almost non-existent. You're welcome to a rich world that you want to explore, but nothing about that world is rich in any shape or form. However, just like Dark Souls' story isn't the main attraction, neither is Destiny's. It's all about the gameplay. And when you're playing single player on Destiny, it tends to just turn into an average game. It's still good because the shooting mechanics is so fluid, but because the dull AI and repetitive missions where you repeatedly protect Dinklebot, it turns into a solid shooter while playing by yourself and nothing more. There's a number of planets you can visit like Earth, Mars, or Venus as an example. Each location is beautiful, but also seems small in the grand scheme of things. You can roughly beat the story in 6 to 10 hours, and for a game that is posing to be an MMO, that seems a bit short, and I'd agree with this if it wasn't for it being an FPS at its core, with tons of loot to find. In fact, I've put countless hours into what I'd consider a rather addicting game. Each planet is pretty decently sized though, and has an open world feel to them. You do have a bike that you can ride around quickly. For me, the more unfortunate part is with the enemy AI, particularly the Vex who aimlessly walks towards you like brainless zombies to just be slaughtered. I actually feel most enemies in this game are rather dull and boring outside their cool art style. However, when you play on Heroic as you are forced to on a weekly strike, is when the real fun begins. It offers a real challenge to where you and your teammates will have to use real strategy to win. At specific parts, I would have to act as a team medic to revive my friends repeatedly as they tried to whittle away the boss's life. In Destiny, there is always new stuff to do, as Bungie is adding things in weekly, so you can gather more loot. There is even vendors who only shows up on the weekends that gives you different, unique items each week in Destiny's hub world called the Tower. Of course, they're extremely hard to get because they all use different currencies, which is where much of the longevity in this game lies. It's an addictive part of the game to differentiate you from others and find cool gear for your characters. There is also PvP multiplayer, and I have very mixed emotions when it comes to this. In multiplayer, the game is filled with insta-deaths, due to the unbalance of the game. For instance, a warlock can use a special at any given time when he has his ability to wipe out anything in his path, or a fusion rifle that seemingly one-shot kills you at a pretty long range, adding to shotguns as starting weapons, overpowered abilities, to a tank that can be pretty rough to stop at times, or heavy weapons that obliterates anything in its path. You will have to get used to insta-deaths playing Destiny. Semi-automatic weapons like pocket rockets also seem to have problems because of the fast pace. Even then, it overall feels like a solid multiplayer. It does need some work on its balance issues, but overall it's solid. The multiplayer is where the game feels very similar to the popular shooter of Call of Duty, with its quick gameplay and aiming down the sights. Add in jumping, jetpacks, and overpowered abilities, and you have something unique and different, yet somehow similar. It's actually an overall good experience and even allows you to unlock new gear after each match, but I don't feel it ranks at the top of multiplayer games due to its balancing issues. Overall, Destiny is a good game, with an addictive way of collecting loot. It shines when it comes to gameplay, lacks in story, and needs to improve on multiplayer. I don't feel content is an issue as there is plenty to do, but it would also have been nice to have more planets at launch rather than having to wait for DLC. If you're a fan of shooters and play games like Diablo, then I'd say this is a must-own title. If you're looking for a good story game, or a good game to play by yourself, then I'd say it's just an okay game. But where this game really shines is in cooperative gameplay. It is an absolute blast, and I would recommend it to anybody who wants a cooperative experience. In fact, I would say this game right now is the best cooperative game on Xbox One and PlayStation 4 at this moment. I've had an absolute blast playing through this game with my friends, and I continue to play because of this fact. Overall, I would give the score 8.5.